Good morning or afternoon, wherever your day finds you, and welcome to the Amazon Web Services Partner Webinar Series. Our topic today will cover how to deploy financial analytics quickly on the AWS cloud. I'm the moderator, Sherry Sullivan. I'm with the Partner Marketing team here in Seattle, and I'd like to welcome you and start with just a couple of housekeeping items before we begin today's webinar. We'd like to let you know that we have muted your lines, but we invite you to participate in this webcast and submit questions anytime during the session today. We'll take some time at the close to answer your questions, and be assured if we don't get to them, we will follow up with you post-event. We'd also like to let folks know that we do make our content available for on-demand. You can find the AWS webinar series available on a SlideShare channel as well as our YouTube channel. We'll start today by covering an Amazon Web Services overview, including why enterprises choose AWS and how customers are using the cloud today. Followed by Slalom Consulting CFO Profitability Analysis solution, which is built on Tableau and deployed on AWS, and we'll close off with some Q&A. So I'm pleased to be joined today by our advanced consulting partner, Phloem Consulting. We have Mark Taurus, who's a solution architect with the CFO Advisory Services, as well as Kyle Lichtenberg, who's our solutions architect working with our partner ecosystem here at AWS. And without further delay, I'd like to go ahead and turn it over to you, Kyle, to get us started.
Hey, thanks, Sherry, and good morning and afternoon and good evening to everyone. Before we jump into the specifics of deploying financial analytics quickly on the AWS cloud, a big general question that we get is, why are we deploying on the AWS cloud? So I just want to take a few minutes and run through why specifically enterprises are choosing AWS, what the value proposition is here, and why this is really where you should be looking for deploying your financial analytics. For one, number one, the big thing is you only pay for infrastructure that you need, not up front. So traditionally, if you're using on-premise infrastructure to build a system like this, or really any IT system, you have to guess how much capacity you're going to need for the next 3 to 7 years, and then pay for it on day one. So it's not very forgiving if your business needs to expand quickly, or if it doesn't expand as quickly as anticipated. All that money is tied up that you could be spending on other things, and based on the nature of IT and information technology in general, it's difficult to predict these things. We don't know, how the market's going to move, what the next big thing is going to be, and where your departments want to be in 6 months. So with AWS and our cloud services, you pay $0 to get started. You only pay for your usage, only what you use in an hourly basis. So if you use a server for 1 hour, you pay for a server for 1 hour. You're not married to that server for the next 3 years based on your cost cycles and your purchasing requirements. It is paying by the sip instead of paying by the gallon up front. As a result, you end up with a lower cost of total IT. So you can scale up and scale down constantly. We encourage this to meet your current and specific IT demand. And we are happy to support you by having those servers available. We operate at a very high volume and very low margin on these services. And this just goes back to our core competency and our coming from the Amazon.com side of the business. This model is something that we're very familiar with and we work very well within. As a result, we have many, many, many servers that we get a very great pricing on because of the scale that we operate at. And we're able to pass those cost savings on to you so that even though you're not paying for them up front and you're paying for them as you use them, the price is still substantially lower than you would pay with traditional infrastructure. This slide, actually, even though this is a current slide, is already out of date. This shows 26 price reductions. We've actually had 37 price reductions at this point since our launch in 2006. This is great news that this slide is out of date. This shows you how quickly these things happen, how quickly we move on the cost reductions. To gain those cost reductions, once you're an AWS customer, when you're running systems, you don't actually have to do anything. Your next bill will just be lower because now we charge less for those things. Since it's not a long-term commitment, it's not a by the year, by the multiple year type of investment. When we start charging less an hour, you start paying less an hour. And as a result of both of these things, you don't have to guess at your capacity. we have the capacity available when you need it. If you want to have a fun conversation, go to your marketing people, ask them which one of their ideas will be the one that's awesome, that's going to go viral and end up on the evening news and end up on Slashdot and Reddit, and it's going to drive all kinds of extra people to your website and tell them that you need to know for planning purposes. Hopefully they'll look back dazed and confused, not understanding exactly how they could possibly know that. But for some reason, they expect that you'll know that, and you'll be able to handle that in a traditional infrastructure that is incredibly difficult and incredibly costly. With AWS, you're able to leverage our elastic systems and only pay for the systems and only implement the systems to meet the actual demand. The slide on the left here shows you the waste of having traditional systems laying around that aren't being used, and then the converse of customer dissatisfaction if you don't have enough systems laying around to meet the actual demand. Whereas on the right-hand side, you can see the elastic implementations when you're adding systems and scaling systems and removing systems and only paying for the systems that you want and need to use. You can, number one, serve your customer better, but also eliminate all of that waste of having systems laying around that just aren't getting leveraged. Another great opportunity with AWS is to increase the speed of innovation. Innovation is what differentiates businesses. With on-premise infrastructure, this is very difficult and very costly. You would need to have excess infrastructure laying around. You would need to have excess people laying around to manage that infrastructure for your experiments. If a developer comes to you and says, I need 5 boxes because I want to play with X, Y, and Z, I think this might work out well. It's a much more difficult proposition if you need to assign resources to actually build out those boxes and secure those boxes and power those boxes and patch those boxes and add them to the monitoring teams and just make sure that those are solid before releasing them to the developer. With AWS, you can automate all of that. You can have that done very cost effectively. Only pay for those servers, those instances, those resources during the experiment. And you can often get away with things for a few dollars as opposed to a few hundreds of thousands of dollars, depending on the scale of the experimentation. So if you wanted to play around with a different type of data warehouse, you can stand up a full data warehouse on AWS using our Redshift system for just a couple bucks. Give it a shot. If it's not for you, it's not for you. If it is, then you've got a great starting place, and your ability to experiment and explore can end up saving the business and a lot of money in the long run and adding a lot of agility to your portfolio. One of the big benefits, number 5 here on the list, is getting rid of the undifferentiated heavy lifting. Unless your business is building data centers, chances are that if you get better at managing power, cooling, cabling, and networking in a data center, it's not going to improve your core business. You have resources and you're spending money on managing these things in an on-premise scenario that are not making you better at solving your core business problems, not making you better at moving forward as a business and differentiating yourself in a market that I'm sure has other competitors that will be more than happy to leverage other resources for these things like AWS to get their resources freed up to advance. So you don't have to buy and install new hardware. You don't have to set up and configure new builds or upgrade data centers or manage any of those things. We've built a competency around this. We're pretty good at handling these things. So we don't feel that you should need to. Let us handle all of the nasty, dirty, nitty-gritties of managing, running, and securing data centers. And that's a great tie-in to your ability to go global in minutes with AWS. So managing one data center is a huge pain. Managing multiple data centers is exponentially worse. So with Amazon Web Services, we've already gone through the hassle of expanding out into multiple regions, into multiple countries, offering up multiple availability zones, which gives you the multi-data center experience without having to build and manage multi-data centers. However, you get the redundancy of having physically distinct and resource distinct areas. So you can build out as though you were in multiple data centers from a single console, from a single pane of glass with just a few clicks. You can be up and running in a very highly available, very durable scenario very quickly. One of the challenges around cloud computing is that the benefits of the cloud are only possible in the cloud. So there's a lot of discussion around privatizing these types of resources and building independent structures that function in similar ways. You're probably not going to be realizing the benefits that you will by using an actual cloud platform. So with a private cloud, you cannot pay as you go. You have to buy all of that infrastructure upfront. You have to build out that system upfront. It's a very distinct upfront cost. There's no way around that. As a result, you won't have the lower overall costs because you're still in the traditional scenario of purchasing it all and managing it all and running it all yourself. You still have to guess at capacity because you still have to purchase all of those systems. You're not increasing your agility or your speed or your innovation because you're still having to spend all those resources on the mundane tasks of managing backups and managing the infrastructure itself. You're doing all of the undifferentiated heavy lifting, and you're not going to be going global terribly quickly. You're going to have to build out infrastructure in multiple locations, multiple countries, signing multiple contracts, managing data lines, and all kinds of things that I don't know if there's anyone that actually enjoys doing those things. If there is, then you found a fantastic niche. Otherwise, please let us handle those things for you. We're more than happy to get your systems up and running in the data centers that we've already built on the infrastructure that is already tried and tested, and putting you in a scenario where we can hand off these benefits to let your business focus on its core business. So identifying that these don't work in a private scenario, we wanted to have someone take an independent look into our customers and see if they're actually realizing these benefits. So we paid IDC to do an in-depth dive with some of our customers, and the end result was that Amazon Cloud Infrastructure represented roughly a 70% savings when compared with existing on-premise solutions. And additionally, the resilience was increased by reducing downtime by 72%. What's really important about having both of these numbers in the same place is that not only are you paying less, but you're getting more performant, more highly resilient hardware by having the experts at Amazon Web Services manage the backend infrastructure for you. So we have teams dedicated around the clock to monitoring and managing these systems so that you don't have to. As a result, better uptime, and as a result of our large scale, much lower cost. And actually this report is available on the website. Recommend going to take a look at that. Biggest question we get from enterprise customers, and really from all of our customers, is around security requirements. Enterprises are known for having very stringent rules and regulations. From a physical security and a platform security perspective, we have achieved most of the big name, if not all of the big name security requirements. We've got FISMA moderate, we've got ITAR for our GovCloud, we can handle HIPAA, BIPs, we've got MPAA, SOC Type 2, PCI DSS, PA DSS, ISOs. There's just a laundry list of accreditations and certifications and audit validations that we have available on the website. If one of these is specific to your workload, or if multiple of these are specific to your workloads, absolutely. Please take a look, and we can offer up all of the validation criteria required to meet your auditing and compliance. One of the nice things about working in a cloud where you have a lot of big name customers and a lot of very security-centric customers is when they identify specific high-end security requirements, for example, the HIPAA regulations in specific that need to be met, we can roll those fixes, if you will, or roll those audit criteria into our existing infrastructure and then offer those changes out to the rest of the platform, and everyone wins. So you don't need to go and adjust your systems or change your actual infrastructure when we've got a new certification that's added. Those things are added to the platform on a whole as opposed to specific customers or in specific areas. However, there are two sides to any certification. There's the physical, the infrastructure side, the platform side, which is what we cover, the facilities, the physical security, compute infrastructure, storage infrastructure, network infrastructure, virtualization. But there's also a shared responsibility model here. There's the software and application side to these things, the operating system securing, the applications themselves, security groups and firewalls, network configurations and account management. These are all things that are on the customer side of the bucket that would be a responsibility of you or the system integrator that you choose to work with. We've got some great system integrators. For example, the team that we're working with today on deploying financial analytics quickly, fantastic. They can give you a walkthrough on how to meet these. They can give you checklists on, based on your requirements, helping you to get up to speed and making sure that you hit all of the targets that you need to. So what are people even doing with the AWS cloud? This all sounds great. These sound fantastic, but is anybody using it? Absolutely. So Shell uses AWS to develop software faster and cheaper, using the ability to spin up systems a lot more quickly and to fail a lot more quickly, honestly, on experimentations. They're not always going to be successful. The AWS cloud has brought business agility to Shell. It's able to deploy services and test services much more quickly. Another great example is Newsweek builds dynamic web applications. We are, born and bred of web applications. We're a great platform for managing these things. Big data processing. We have lots of storage. We have lots of compute. We have lots of pre-built systems as well as partners that can help you with data processing concerns and needs. We have our EMR, Elastic MapReduce, will manage Hadoop clusters for you, which if you've ever tried to do that independently, it is not fun. We have launched Hadoop clusters. Our customers have been able to launch Hadoop clusters faster and learn from that data a lot faster by not needing to manage the undifferentiated setup and such. Lionsgate, the media company, is seeing incredible cost savings with Amazon using VPC for a private infrastructure for SharePoint and SAP hosting. 50% lower cost than the other hosting options, saving $1 million over 3 years. Nasdaq uses AWS to build their financial cloud, FinCloud service on AWS. Sorry, I see we're having some possible audio issues. I'm going to keep moving and hope that we're recording properly. Nasdaq was able to use AWS, or decided to use AWS, to build a unique financial cloud system as opposed to using their independent infrastructure. Another great example, Samsung with their Smart Hub system that's all running on RDS-backed instances within Amazon. They saved $34 million over traditional infrastructure and 85% savings. HPC, high performance compute. This is another great option with Amazon since we have tons of infrastructure available. You can spin up tons of infrastructure and do massively parallelized analysis of data. So this is very popular in the HPC space with companies that do pharmaceutical research, that do life sciences type research, that do oil prospecting type research, fluid dynamics, anywhere where you need to chew up just a ton of data. We have that infrastructure available. We have the systems there. We have the data systems in place. We highly recommend reaching out to our consulting partners. Slalom, for example, is a great partner, advanced partner with us. They can help you deploy your systems, and specifically to this webinar, financial systems, quickly and effectively, and leverage all of these benefits and all of these opportunities to help you improve your business and improve your profitability without taking on all of the pains of managing these data centers yourself. So with that, I'm going to hand you over to Mark with Slalom, and he is going to talk you through their solution around financial analytics.
Thank you, Kyle, and thanks, Sherry. Just reintroduce myself, Mark Taurus, again, with Slalom Consulting. I'm a solution architect with Slalom, and what I'm going to do today is first just spend 1 minute on just who Slalom is, and then go ahead and walk you through our CFO Profitability Analytics solution that was built within Tableau and deployed on the AWS cloud. So with that, so who is Phloem? Phloem is a national business and consulting technology firm. We are located in offices throughout the country, and we actually are plans for international expansion in 2014 into Toronto and London. So with that, so what did we build, and why did we build this solution? From our experience in working with Phloem and a number of use cases that we've had out there, is that the biggest challenge we see from a CFO is truly trying to understand how to optimize their portfolio of offerings. And to get to that, they go through a number of challenges and steps to be able to reach those targets based on currently where they're at. So the first step is truly understanding what their P&L looks like across a region or a channel that they're working with, a customer segment that they may have, or product category. And each one of those dimensions or areas does have a number of elements underneath of that. Certain CFOs or clients of ours will have thousands of products that they deal with. They work with hundreds of customers, and they're spread across whether they're just domestically or internationally. They have a number of regions they need to work with. So it's a very hard process to be able to drill down, filter through their customers, their channels, products, and regions to be able to really truly look at that P&L. And the next step is to say, once they understand their P&L, is to be able to say, okay, now we need to compare this against where we want to go. What is our budget? What is our target? And then determining what do we need to do to actually go from where we're at to eliminate that gap and reach our budget or target. And that's focusing really on those key performance indicators, whether you're focusing on leading or lagging indicators of gross margin or net margin or some of the other things that truly drive your business so you can proactively make changes to be able to close that gap. And then finally, the last thing, or the last couple things, is one is, okay, now we've identified where we're at. Now we need to figure out what do we need to get rid of or potentially expand upon within our products or customers that we work with to then say, okay, these are good ones, these are bad ones, these are the ones we actually can fix based on their expenses, and these are the ones that we should continue to expand upon. Also working with our customers, these are good contracts, these are bad contracts, these are customers we shouldn't be working with, to be able to provide the visibility to see that, to make that change and be able to close that gap to get to where you need to be. And finally, once you have determined what products to eliminate, the next step is to say, okay, what should I do? What should I do to offer new products, or what should I price those products at? So what we try to do is solve that final challenge is to say, okay, let's look at what you've done historically over a period of time to baseline and give you almost a what-if scenario to say, all right, what if I priced it at this? And then what can I expect to achieve in regards to quantity results? And then what, based on my expenses over historical trends, what will my final net income or performance of this new product offering be? So that was really the use case. And historically it's been done traditionally in Excel. Other tools that are very cumbersome are non-repeatable. The data is not always correct, and you end up doing the exercise over and over again. So what we found was, working with Tableau and AWS is an opportunity to actually develop a solution where now a CFO has a fully featured profitability analytics solution that's built in Tableau, a very robust tool, and also deployed in the cloud for them to actually have an area where they can go through, whether it's a mobile device, whether it's on a desktop, whether it's sharing to a number of users, but allow them to analyze the health of their business and then be able to do this very quickly and less expensive than a traditional solution that you may be working through for 6 to 8 months out there. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and go into a demo and give you a live demo of this solution and show you what we built and walk you through this scenario of just of a use case of how this could be used and how you could benefit from it to solve those challenges. So if you give me 1 second, I'm going to go ahead and launch this for you. Okay, so what you should be seeing now is pretty much what I walked through already in that last slide, was how we're trying to optimize your portfolio to solve those challenges. So if I go into my first view, this is really the health check of the company, more from an executive level of, how can I quickly analyze where I'm at, where I need to be based on key performance indicators. And so what we've chosen is margin indicators of gross margin, operating margin, net margin. Net sales, gross profit, and operating income. Green showing that you're in good shape, red showing that you actually have not met your target. So in the black horizontal lines, you see areas where they have not reached their target, what the target is, and how close they are to reaching that target. Obviously also showing you within the bar chart, showing you what is the actual dollar amount, and then within parentheses showing you the year-over-year change from the previous year. And then obviously showing you to the right the trend lines over the last 3 years of what has been trending for each one of these key performance indicators. This is obviously, you have the ability to filter down to a quarter, a month, or within a year of 3 years of data. Now the next thing becomes, okay, now I understand the health of my company. Also, I want to be able to look at a full P&L, fully burdened P&L of this company, going from gross sales all the way down to profit. So this does include all those indirect or unallocated expenses, which would be your indirect expenses, SG&A, tax and interest, fully allocated down to your region's customer-facing products or channels. But within this P&L, we're showing their actuals, we're showing their year-over-year variance, what their growth is, what their budget or target is, and then where they are compared to their actuals of meeting their budget. So the key thing becomes to tell a story here is to say, if a company is looking at, they understand where they are, now they need to go what they need to go, where they need to head to. So if I'm looking at net margin, I'm at 26% here. And obviously, I'm below my target of 28%. So the first question becomes, how do I eliminate that gap? And the first question becomes, well, I need to focus on what region do I need to focus on, or what channel do I need to focus on? So what we do is within the solution is to say, okay, I could go ahead and select any one of those key metrics of whether it's net margin, operating margin, net sales, gross profit, operating income. But to focus on net margin is to say, all right, well, I've got 2% to fill. What I've done here is now I've actually showed how within the regions of this company, what is the best performing region versus the worst performing regions. So as you can see, the Middle East, Asia, and Pacific are all above that 28% target. And then Europe, Africa, and Americas are below that 28% target. And then obviously showing you year-over-year growth, that Americas is probably the worst performing region, and that is at 60%. But from 2011 to 2012, it's decreased by 42%. So now I have that first piece. So I can actually click on the Americas, and what it'll do is it'll go ahead and refilter the whole dashboard to show me, okay, what is my new targets and how, what are the actuals for my key performance indicators, and where am I at in reaching those targets. But the next piece it gives you in the visibility is just to say, okay, within Americas, what channel do I need to focus on? Obviously, it's not my retail channel. I'm at a 51% net margin. The wholesale channel is really the concern for the Americas region. Also, I can look at my customer segments, whether it's supermarkets, hotels, and clubs, convenience stores. Obviously, all of those are below my target except for supermarkets. And then again, within my product category, I can focus on certain product categories sorted by best to worst and looking at the year-over-year growth. So if I look at one of my worst performing product categories here of deli, I could actually click on that. And again, just showing you the power of how you can filter within the dashboard. Again, everything refilters, everything changes based on your targets, where you want to be for certain product categories for Americas, and again, showing you a P&L for that deli product category. So this is solving that first challenge that I addressed at the beginning of being able to filter and look at your company from a region, channel, customer segment, product category to be able to get a sense of where you're at and what area you need to focus on. So continuing on, if I go to the next view, now what I've done is I need to look at what I need to do to actually eliminate that gap of my net margin to move it to where it needs to be from that where it was at 26% to that 28%. And we're going to focus on the product side. So what I've done here is in this first area within here of the scatter plot, I've plotted out all my portfolio or product offerings based on net sales to margin. And I can use any margin category I wanted to, whether it's a gross, operating, or net margin. But I have it from net sales to net margin. And within here, I have all my product offerings. So if I just hover over one of these, you'll see this is part of the product category dairy with a specific product cheese, a net sales of $2.3 million with a net margin of -4%. But what's neat about this scatter plot and the what-if capability within the Tableau and the solution is I can actually start doing a what-if analysis. Let's say, right now I've got all these outliers over here, and I know my target based on this horizontal black line is 28%. Here's my median right now. I'm at 19%. So I've got 7% gap to fill. What I can do is I can start getting rid of stuff. I can start excluding this one. I'm just getting rid of this one, getting rid of this one, getting rid over here. So as you can see, your portfolio is changing. So now my median has gone from 19% to 20% just by eliminating those outlying products on the side over here. So very nice within the what-if analysis. But also, let's focus back on that deli product category where we had some concern that was driving down the Americas regions. I can actually select here on deli to show you, okay, here are all my products underneath that product category. And as you can see, I've got 3 products that are actually performing well in regards to my net margin, where I want to be in regards But obviously over here, I've got this one product that's, at a 2% net margin, driving it down. It actually is the second highest performing in regards to net sales, but is at a 2% net margin when we fully burden that P&L. So this also brings up the opportunity of the integration, the collaboration, the communication between a finance department and a sales team or an operation team to say, finance would go back to them and say, listen, you've got a product that's obviously performing very well as far as net sales, but when you fully burden it, you've got a 2% net margin. Whereas the sales guys would have been saying without this tool, would have been like, how can you even think about eliminating my product? I'm the second best performing product in all of the daily product categories. It seems to be a disconnect in regards to that. But what this tool is providing is a collaboration tool for both teams to get on the same page to determine why this is not performing well and identify that product as a true outlier. And then at that point, create a good discussion around how we can fix that. And that'd be the next piece in regards to this is I can actually click on specialty needs. And what this will do now is it will then, if I go to move to the left-hand side, it will go ahead and as a percent of gross sales, show me my expenses from sales discount, costs, SG&A, indirect expense, and taxes and interest for this product as a percent of gross sales. So I know where I'm at. But the next thing is to say, well, how does it compare to the target where I need to be at, and what is my portfolio average so I know which area to focus on. And as you can see, it's within my COGS at 71% versus my portfolio average of 57.1 or target of 57.2, and my indirect expenses of the 19.3, and my target of 12.2, or my portfolio average, which has been 12.2. So now I know where I need to focus on for this specific product. But to continuing to create a good conversation and preparing, whether it's the VP of Finance or the portfolio manager, is to say, okay, now I know where I'm at and what area I need to focus on, but now I need to be able to ask the next best question of who do I actually need to call within my supply chain or my operations department, and that's where we move down to here within COGS. Now, what I have here is these are all the expenses for specialty needs, that since I've selected on and filtered down to that. And then within the percentage here is showing you each one of these expenses as a percent of gross sales. But then again, within parentheses, it's showing you what the portfolio average is for the daily product category. So that, portfolio average for the whole company. So now you have a better understanding of what area you need to focus on. So if there was one expense that was a lot higher than the portfolio average, you can now have a better question to ask the right person, whether it be the person in charge of labor or materials or returns, to be able to ask them, okay, why did that happen, or how can we fix that? Because as you see, you're a lot higher in regards to that. But what's nice about it, too, is you can say, okay, they may say, well, what happened in 2011? I can click right here on 2011, and everything will go ahead and refilter. And now I'll show you just for specialty needs. Again, you can say, okay, specialty need was at $0.7 million in sales with a net margin of 5%. So obviously it went up. The sales increased dramatically. Their margin went down. So it sounds like they may have had some certain COGS that increased due to that increase of sales and didn't really find the right contract or the right person to work within labor and materials. So anyways, providing you a time dimension in regards to where we were and where we went from to be able to provide the analysis of what we need to do to fix that. So the next step is to say, okay, well, let's say we're going to go ahead and get rid of specialty needs. We're going to completely eliminate it. Now I need to figure out what I need to do to eliminate it, and that's where I would go to this product's detail, where this is kind of the catch-all for everything. It's showing you, so if I select in here within my daily, down here on my inventory level, it's showing you one of, okay, what are my inventory units I have for this daily product category? What is the value I have left outstanding of this, and how often does this turn over? So again, we're bringing together the finance department, the inventory, the supply chain all together to make that determination of what I need to do to actually eliminate that product. So what I need to do is actually drill down into here, and then showing the specialty needs. This is where I'm at with the units and my inventory value and my turns. So based on 21 turns, this product probably has a little over 2 days left before it would be gone. And then obviously showing you on within a price and quantity sold, showing you that as it seems like they didn't exactly go through that period of 2010. They're about stable. 2011, they did this huge price increase, quantity decreased a huge amount, and then they restabilized in 2011 to 12 to decrease that, and we had some quantity increase. So there was a huge amount of price elasticity for this product, within this sale price quantity analysis. But again, showing you what you can do between that integration to make that determination, okay, let's get rid of this product. What do we need to do? All right, let's just stop purchasing it. It'll be gone in about 2 days. So the next piece becomes so now kind of take you back to the beginning here. Now we've been able to determine what area we need to focus on. We've determined the outliers within our portfolio offerings. We've actually gone to the point of doing some analysis on the expense side for that certain project, for that certain product, to determine whether we could potentially fix it. And at this point, we decided to eliminate it. So the next piece becomes, okay, what if I offer a whole new product? And I'm going to get rid of specialty meats. I'm going to bring something in to replace it. And what would it be? And this is the additional what-if analysis. So if I click on deli right here, what this chart shows you on the upper quadrant here is these are all the product transactions that have occurred over the last 3 years for the deli product category, what the price was and what it sold at. So if I highlight over one here in April deli, April 2011, there is a deli product that sold at $220 for a price of for a quantity sold of 2,784 units. But then based on those historical trends, it's going to give me a slope line or a trend line to determine what price elasticity of as price change, what is quantity change. So I'm going to use this baseline to give me my what-if analysis to say, all right, I'm going to bring in a new product. So my average product price for a deli product category is $117 with 5,200 units. Now I'm going to go in a little more high end. It's $117. I'm going to go in at $130, and I want to know how this product is going to perform. What can I expect to get from this product? So at a price of $130, based on this trend line, again, over the past 3 years, I can expect to sell 4,290 units of this product to give me my gross sales of the $557,000. My sales discount, I can use this slide bar to determine how I want to promote this product. How much do I want to spend with my customer contracts to determine how I want to get this out there, to get it on the shelves and continue to promote it. And the last piece is now all the COGS, SG&A, indirect expenses, taxes, and interest are all based on historical data for this product category over the last 3 years. So as a percent of gross sales, it will go ahead and give me a forecast or a what-if analysis of how much my expenses would be for this new product offering I have. So based on all this analysis, based on historical information, my profit should be around $64,000 for this new product. So again, taking you full circle here, we've gone through the whole piece here, eliminating, create a great discussion between all your departments to make the determination, all right, this is the new product I want to offer to eliminate that gap, and here's what I can expect it to achieve, and this will continue to move me towards the direction of eliminating portfolio outliers, expanding on current products that I have out there to move to that next step. And the last piece here is to say, now what if someone comes back and you get a huge, the sales guys and your stores out there are selling to say, actually my specialty meat is actually performing very well in my store. It's actually above that target net margin. You're looking at it across the whole company. You need to look at this forward to the next phase of what does it look like at the store level. And this becomes the great ability within the Tableau ad hoc ability and the mobility of this tool is to say, what if, okay, now I need to go down to that store level to determine which stores are the ones underperforming. And maybe what I could do is actually provide a geographical map of this. So if I did a what-if analysis, I'm just going to re-select this for 1 second. And so what you're seeing in front of you now is a map of deli specialty meats geographically mapped across the nation. In green, it's showing you actually the store. So in Eugene, the deli specialty meat, it actually has a net margin of 42%, so it's showing in green. Versus over here in Aurora in Colorado, the specialty meat has a net margin of 10.68%. So geographically mapping you where an area you need to focus on and potentially a store that you should just go and eliminate. So it doesn't become a broad brush, just get rid of this product. Maybe it becomes a decision of let's actually focus on certain stores to get rid of them in certain areas based on that. But just showing you, again, showing the power of this tool is to say it could bring up another general discussion of, all right, well, here's my specialty meat. within Delhi, actually might be able to come up with a manufacturing decision of where should I put my fulfillment organization or my supply chain departments to actually fulfill this product. So just showing you geographically mapping it out. So very nice tool to visualize it, to make that decision and move forward with that. So with that, that's what we built within Tableau and deployed across the AWS cloud. And it's had it's been great to use. And, we've used it a number of times with our clients, either as a conversation starter for them to say, this is something that I want to use. I like this, and I like this. Or it can be something like, okay, show me just how to put my data into that tool. So with that, I'm going to go back to our presentation and just highlight some key benefits from this solution. So the first one was really within Tableau and with deploying across AWS is the ability to access and analyze your data. One great thing about Tableau versus traditional solution is I can attach your data very quickly and very rapidly. Within a week, I could actually get to your data and start looking at it, analyzing, and determine what I need to look at. And also, the other great thing about this tool was the ability to actually evaluate your profitability across all your different dimensions, your regions, your channels, your customers, your segments. And then to be able to make truly well-informed decisions, just not decisions based on a salesperson saying, I'm the second best performing product in all the product category, you shouldn't eliminate me, but actually true quantifying what it would look like and why you can make the decision to eliminate that product. So making those well-informed decisions. The other piece is the integration across departments. The data that we brought into the solution was not only finance data, planning, target data, point of sale data, also just true sales and marketing data. It's all these information and data that we're brought together, and part of that is each part of this data has a department owner. So with that, we're bringing in departments and different positions across our organization to create a collaborative tool and truly create that integrated department across an organization to make that decision. And the final thing, which was very nice about the solution, is just that what-if analysis, to understand pricing and using all your historical information to make decisions on pricing and to be able to move forward and determine how you should offer that product and what is the product performance that you'd expect it to be. And it's a great tool, again, to then say, okay, based on that, I have a better sense of what I should forecast. So it again does integrate to your forecast and planning tool to say, okay, this is what I think. And by the way, let me show you how I got there, and I can share this with you. Go on to the same thing I did. I'll show you the same view. You can see how I got there. And this is why I put that number into our plan for next year. And the last piece is just showing you that within the geo-mapping is that, it is a very user-driven, self-sufficient tool that if someone had another question come up to say, maybe I don't want to look at this, eliminate the product across all the country, I want to look at a specific store, it is the ease of use of this product is great, and it's highly rated, and that it gives that ability for that person to create that geo map, to actually graph this data, drill down into the store, to show a geographical map of a store and how it's performed in certain areas. So with that, that was the solution here, the demo, and some key benefits. If you have any questions or want to learn more about the solution, we'd love to spend time with you, but you can send questions to us. And on our solution or how we deploy it on the AWS cloud, you can email us at solutions@phloem.com. And also I invite you that we'll actually be sending out a follow-up email where you can actually do a test drive of this solution on AWS, where you actually can do the same thing I did, play with it, dive into further detail of the tool and just get a good sense of, what other questions you'd like to ask. Just play with it a little bit more. So we'll be sending that out probably at the end of the week or next week, where you can actually get a chance to actually play with the tool. So with that, I'll give it back to you, Sherry, for any questions.
Thank you, Mark, and thanks for the great demo. That was really cool to be able to see that in action. And thanks, Kyle, for kind of setting the stage with AWS key benefits. So folks, if you've joined us sort of midstream, we do invite you to submit questions using the widget tool in your browser. And we've had some questions coming in, so we'll kick things off. I'm going to point this first question back to you, Mark. The question is, if a client wanted to implement the solution, what would be the next steps and approach to do so?
Great. That's a great question. And a common question we get across our clients. Obviously, they get very excited about it. They decide, we do want to go ahead and move, forward with this. What do we need to do, and what steps do we need to take? And to be very candid, the first step is the data preparation. We need to understand your data. We need to understand what stage you're at and what maturity level you're at. So do you have a data warehouse? Do you have one source of data that we can access off of? Or do we need to spend some time doing some data standardization and data prep to actually get the data ready to actually then put it into the tool and then go to the next phase of actually deploying it and using some of the functionality within the solution? So there's definitely an upfront phase to get the data ready to go. But at that point, it becomes a real great tool to then go ahead and connect it to it and move it to the next case. So that should answer the question there, Sherry, if there's any follow-up.
Great. Thanks, Mark. Kyle, I'm going to put this next question to you. With a hybrid implementation, what are some of my options for securely connecting my existing infrastructure to AWS environments?
Sure, and that's a great question. So we understand that you have existing data in existing locations, probably in your locally managed data warehousing systems, and you're going to need to get some way to get those from point A to point B, and you're going to want that to be secure. I mean, this is your business data. This is highly confidential. This is information that you don't want getting out. So we have a few different methodologies for connecting directly between your on-premise infrastructure using encrypted tunnels. You can use standard IPsec tunneling using our VPC service, setting up VPNs that are, again, standards compliant. You can connect to your existing infrastructure. If you're running Cisco ASAs or any of the standard security tools, we can give you configurations to download directly for those. And the VPNs themselves between these two locations are multi-channel, and you can have multiple of them. So you can have them highly redundant, highly resilient, and moderately performant. This is going over the internet, and it is an IPsec tunnel, so there is some overhead. And that's a great way to start with your connection if you don't need to move too much data too quickly. If you do need to move too much data too quickly, if you've got a large data set or a large data warehouse that Slalom's giving you a hand and beating it up and cleaning it up a little bit to get it ready for a solution like this, and now you're ready to shoot it across to AWS. We also have peering centers where we offer direct connect service. So you can get an actual fiber port directly into the Amazon cloud, which is secure and private. It's literally point-to-point between our equipment and the peering center. So you can get a very private, very secure connection between Amazon's infrastructure and your VPC and your existing infrastructure. If you're not in one of those peering centers, you can find those locations on the Amazon website if you look up Direct Connect as the service offering. Most service providers already have competencies around getting your MPLS networks or your existing infrastructures peered in a way that they can get your data there effectively so that you can have a nice strong pipe, a nice secure pipe, and a large enough pipe to get all of your data where it needs to be so that Slalom can help you visualize it, beat it up, and get the business performance out of it that you're looking for.
Perfect. Thanks, Kyle. I'm going to point this next question back to you, Mark. The question is, can you describe your approach in preparing the data for the CFO Profitability Analytics solution?
Yeah, absolutely. So with that, in the data preparation and what I was showing you, and one of the hardest things is if we have CFOs on the line or finance, professionals on the line, is one thing you would have seen is that there is a step in place where I actually went through an allocation of some of your indirect expenses down to your projects, regions, and channels. So, there is an integration point to determine, if you don't have it already, of how we're going to do that allocation using whether it's ADC, analysis or some other type of driver tool to do that allocation to get that data prepared. In addition, it is that integration and the connection to those data sources to determine, or do we want to connect natively, which means do I want a live connection to a certain data source? Is this something that I want to see real time and continue to update and refresh whenever I open up my solution or my dashboard so I see real-time data refresh versus more something that, this doesn't change on a daily basis, not even a weekly basis. It becomes more of a monthly process. So I'm not going to do a native connection. I'm going to do more of an extract and batch it, maybe it's overnight or every week into my solution so I get real-time updates. So, there is that first piece of allocations, data prep, but also the other piece of, where we can connect and how we can connect based on what you want to see, real-time versus what you can wait for and see more less frequently, but it just based on how the data is refreshed. So, yeah, I mean, the data prep is, is a time period that we need to figure out what you want to see and how you want to see it, and also what is performed within the solution.
Great, thanks, Mark. A follow-on question, Mark, we're wondering if you would share with us how long did it take to design and build and test and deploy this solution? We know that you worked closely with Tableau as well as AWS. Can you share a little more insight into that?
Sure. I can walk you through the phases of that. So, the actual, data prep that we did to get the data ready and prepared, ready to go, that took us about, about a week to get it ready. I mean, this is a proof of concept, so we did do, we had a lot of data already, so there isn't as much time that would be taken with a current client, but we spent about a week getting that ready. And then at that point, and we connected to that data. And one great thing about Tableau is it does have the ability to connect to anything out there natively, Excel spreadsheets, Access database. So the connection didn't take us long at all. I mean, we were connected within 2 to 3 days to all the data sources. We had it integrated. We had a data model built. And then it was really taking those functional requirements or those challenges that we're trying to solve and build it into a solution and determine how we would how a CFO or a finance professional or portfolio manager or supply chain, across all departments, how they would walk through it and how we could create a collaborative tool across the departments. So, we spent probably about another week on that piece to actually get that fully deployed out. So all in all, I mean, versus a traditional solution, we put this together in probably, right around 3.5 weeks, fully deployed, ready out there. And then at that point, once it was good to go and we had a couple pilot, sessions with some of our users and clients, then we went ahead and deployed it across AWS Cloud, and that was very easy to get it out there, start showing the mobility of this tool, putting it on our iPad, accessing it through that mobility, and just getting that next fill of the tool and deploying it to a wider audience was very quick, and took us very little amount of time. So very rapid deployment, quick fire, very easy to get access to and access that data across all three, across these two platforms, which was great.
Terrific. Thanks for giving us that insight, Mark. So with that, I'd like to just remind folks, feel free to reach out to our partner at Slalom Consulting. The email is solutions@slalom.com. As Mark indicated, they're working on a test drive, which they'll be rolling out, and you'll get a follow-up email on that as well. So with that, a special thanks to our presenters today, Mark Taurus with Slalom Consulting and Kyle Lichtenberg with AWS Solutions Architect team here in Seattle. And thank you to all of our attendees for taking time from your busy day. That does conclude today's webcast, but before you log off, we would enjoy having you take a very brief survey. It's an anonymous survey, gives us some feedback, lets us know how we did. And that concludes today's webcast. Thank you for joining us.